in a memory, which exists inside a world of 1,000 memories. I know it might look nice, but it's not. This place, this world, it's a prison. Henry's prison.
Greetings, stranger friends, and welcome back to Stranger Danger. We are here. It has happened. We are finally caught up after this episode. Now we just play the long waiting game to Christmas. Yes, 3 days. See, this is why I did it this way. I wanted to space this out to fill that gap, to get us from part 1 to part 2, to get us from Thanksgiving to Christmas. And now we are only 3 days away, and I couldn't be more excited. I don't really want to waste much time. I want to get right to the action, but before I do, I did want to mention a few comments that I got coming in through Spotify, and I want to say thank you. If you do listen on Spotify, you can leave comments. If you listen on Apple, you can leave reviews. I know on Podcast Addict, there was a comment a whole year ago that I finally found last time. So there are definitely ways to reach out, and I do have a few comments that I wanted to mention. Now, maybe it's my old age, I don't know. I completely forget if I mentioned this already, but Erico Pessoa, you sent a comment a few days ago, and I was like, wait, I think I replied, but I don't think I mentioned it on the show. I think it came out after the last episode. Anyway, Erico said, nice to hear that the book club will keep going on during 2026. Yes, it absolutely will. In fact, I have 2 new books that I purchased for my niece. I don't think she's going to listen to this. If she does, then I'm happy I have a listener, and I'm sad that I spoiled the Christmas gift because I got her the 2 newest Stranger Things hardcover books. I'm going to say Merry Christmas. Now give them to me. I want to read them first, or I will. If you're going to read them right away, fine. Otherwise, they must get into my hands as soon as possible so that I can read them fairly early on in 2026. So yes, of course, the book club's going to keep going. Stranger Danger is going to keep going, because even though this adventure is coming to an end, the world of Stranger Things will live on. Noah wrote back in again, mentioning that he thought that the car having to latch onto the telemetry tag kind of reminded him of Speed. I don't know if you've ever seen Speed. It's where John Wick is in a bus, and he if the bus goes below a certain speed, a bomb on a bus will explode. So, Keanu Reeves has to save the day. And I won't spoil it for you. It's a 30-year-old movie, but I don't want to spoil it for you. So he thought the fact that the signal had to latch on to the tag and they had to race after that kind of reminded him of that. I don't know if I see it that way, but I definitely wanted to mention the comment from Noah. I appreciate it. Also got a message from Jason. Hey, Mike, I'm Jason. I'm 13 and I'm obsessed with the podcast. Keep it up. Also, can you please feature me in an episode? Again, you're amazing. Thank you. And also hope you're doing good. I am. Also, you're lucky, in my opinion, because I wish I was alive in the 80s again. Have a good one, Jason. Oh, yes, Jason. Well, here's the thing. No matter where you are in your life, you always think, oh, they had it so cool back then. Well, maybe I didn't think that of the 60s. No, the 60s was cool. But they didn't have computers. And we got computers, and pretty much, household computers in the 80s. We didn't have internet yet, but it was still fairly cool time. And when I look back on the things that they did, the things they listened to, the things they watched. Yes, it is very reminiscent of my childhood. And yes, I'm glad I was alive in the 80s, and I'm glad I'm alive today. And I'm glad you guys are all alive today. And someday, Jason, 20 years from now, you're going to see some kids. They're going to be like, oh, wow, you were alive in the 2020s, and they're floating around in their jetpacks. You guys had to walk everywhere. That seems like so much fun. And then they fly away. So it happens. Every generation looks back at the previous generation and goes, oh, man, I wish I was alive then. But seeing all this nostalgic 80s stuff in this show definitely, I can see why you wish you were alive during that time. Because in a word, it was rad. And lastly, Alex wrote, I have a feeling 11 would totally be a vegan if she knew about the meat industry today. Ooh, especially in season 1 where she saw how disturbed she was when she saw the distressed animal. I don't know why I'm writing this comment. It's just a thought I had. That's funny. Well, hey, write on your thoughts. I appreciate it. You know what? She probably would be. And I hate to say that I had a bacon sandwich for breakfast, or I'm not a bacon sandwich, but an egg sandwich that had bacon on it today. So I know that I wasn't a vegan in the 80s, and I'm not a vegan now, but I do agree with you that 11 seems like someone who totally would be. She loves pineapple on pizza. We know that, and pineapple is it's not an animal. I don't think. No, it is let me look that up. Yes, it's a plant or a fruit or whatever. But yeah, I'm trying to think of different things she's eaten over the years. Eggo. What did she? More Eggo, more waffles. She loves waffles. I don't know what else she might have eaten. I can't think of it. What do they have for dinner at the Byers' house when she kind of stormed off crying after, smashing that bee Angela in the face? I don't remember, but that seems like a logical theory idea, Good. Cool. I love it. Now, I did see maybe a few other comments came in. I didn't get a chance to go through all of them. So if you have sent a comment in since in the last few days, I will see it. I will read it. And, in a future episode, but I just wanted to mention these few that came in the other day. All right. That's it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into Stranger Things 5, Chapter 4, Sorcerer. So we pick up right back at the McCorkle farm. Last we saw, Will was saying that the Demogorgon was now headed their way. Vecna knows where they are. So we open up with Joyce, and she's looking right at us, right into the camera, but she's talking to Derek. She's saying, I know you're scared. I know you're angry, but I promise we're here to help you. So you could see that he does not like being there, obviously, and he keeps pulling at the restraints. And Joyce says, if you keep doing that, you're going to hurt yourself. She's trying to get him to calm down, trying to get him to reason with her. And he nods, I'm not sure I trust it. But she asks, she's like, do you know who I am?
An evil child kidnapper.
Okay, I understand why you would think that, but I'm not evil. I'm just a mom. A regular mom. That's my son, Will.
Zombie boy.
You know why they call him that?
Because he died and came back to life.
But what people don't know is that when he went missing, he was taken by a terrible, scary monster. And now that scary monster is after you.
Yeah, I know. Mr. What's-It told me. Which is why you need to let me go.
No. Mr. What's-It is not who he says he is.
So you could see that it's not that Derek doesn't believe that there are monsters out there. He just believes that this Mr. What's-It is there. He's there to protect them, that he's on their side. But Joyce is like, no, he's lying to you. Those monsters, they work for him. That's why we took you to this barn, to keep you safe from him. But now we have to move you someplace where he can't find you. And he looks over at Will, Erica, and Robin, and they're kind of nodding. And you have to think Derek has to be freaked out by this, but he does know Erica. I'm like, maybe she should just try talking to him. Maybe he might believe her, because she is, or I guess definitely now was, Tina's friend. I would say definitely was, because, the whole drugging and kidnapping thing, I don't think Tina's going to forgive her. The parents, if everything worked with the pie, they might forget. But Tina saw what happened to her parents. She ran. Erica took that syringe out and just stabbed her right into her. So I don't think they're going to be friends anymore. But he just, there's no connection. Actually, there's more disdain with Erica and Derek later on. But Joyce tries to reason with him, and he's like, okay, he agrees that he will go with them if Joyce unties him. She's like, okay. And she believes him, and I certainly didn't. I felt like, okay, you're just appeasing them for now. And I was right, because the next thing you know, she shoves Mrs. Byers out of the way, bulldozes right through Robin and Will like he's Walter Payton, and Will chases him down. Luckily, Will's faster, so he chases him down and tackles him, and he's like holding him. Robin and Erica run to go close the barn doors and barricade it. But while Will is yelling, he's yelling for his mom for rope. Now imagine being Derek at this point. You're like, this teenager wants to tie me up, and Derek turns and throws sand right in Will's eyes. I thought that was, look, obviously we're on Will's side and Will's correct, but I am starting to like this kid. It reminds me of Goonies when Chunk is he's with the kidnappers, but at some certain point the kidnapper's like, I can't help it, I like this kid. That's what seems to be happening with Derek right here. So he throws the sand in Will's face, the dirt in Will's face. Will is, he's definitely struggling at this point. Derek gets up and he looks at the door, and Robin and Erica, they're guarding it. So there's no way he's going to get by them this time. They're ready for him. So he hightails it up a ladder to a loft in the barn. This kid can scurry in a hurry. But before Robin can get there, he takes the ladder and he pushes it down. Now, again, they could just keep putting the ladder up, but he probably will keep just pushing it down over and over. Maybe it's who finally gets tired first. I don't know. But he's up there. They don't try to put the ladder back up. Instead, Robin just tries to reason with him.
Dude, she's not lying to you, okay? Mr. What's-It is a very bad guy. He sent the monsters after you.
Suck my fat one!
Jesus, what?
You just signed your death warrant, dipshit.
You're just a psycho and you're going to jail!
There is
Just
a
trying to help
monster
you.
coming. I promise.
Again, another great line from Derek. You're just a psycho and you're going to jail. So they're trying to convince him, but he just puts his fingers in his ears. He's like, la, 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 la. He's doing his best to tune them out. And while everyone else is yelling up at Derek, Will suddenly feels the goosebumps on his neck. He senses it. It's too late. He turns to look at the door, but before he can do or say anything, before he can warn them, he snaps into one of his trances. His eyes roll back, and now we can see that he's seeing through the eyes of the Demogorgon. He's seeing that demo vision. And it's here, now. It smashes up against the door, and everybody turns, because they know what's coming. And Derek just like, what the absolute hell? It's at this point he's probably thinking, oh, they were telling the truth. Oops. So they all just kind of stand there frozen. Will is, completely incapacitated. He's out of it. And Joyce acts. She hustles over and grabs an axe. The door opens and boom! There he is. Old Flower Face.
You want him? You're gonna have to come through me!
You know, between Karen and Joyce, the moms this season have been some serious brave ass kickers, you know? I mean, she doesn't even think about it. She grabs this axe and just starts waving it at this monster that, you know, the same type of monster that kidnapped her son, the monster that's working for Mr. Whatsit, for Henry, for Vecna, for one, like these dangerous creatures. And she just stands between the kids and this monster without even a thought. She starts waving the axe at the Demogorgon, and the thing, like, it starts to back up. And as it backs up, we actually, we see that Will is seeing his mom through the demo's, I want to say eyes, but I don't think they're eyes, like eye, mouth, face. And, you know, when I watched this, when I rewatched it, I'm thinking, could this be the first instance that we see of Will exerting his powers over the monster? Like, would that thing really have retreated just by seeing, you know, this woman waving an axe? I mean, remember, we had Karen with the wine bottle, and, you know, it didn't really slow down the Demogorgon that much. But with this, it steps back enough that it's actually outside of the barn, steps right out of the barn and into the line of the Beamer, who totally takes it out, runs it right over. Like, they couldn't have timed showing up there any more perfectly. The Demogorgon flips through the air, lands hard, and Dustin's like, we got him. Like, it was nice. I like seeing like a happy, smiling version of Dustin. And inside the barn, when that happens, Will, because he's connected to the hive mind, right? Will falls over and seems to be in like a lot of pain. So Steve spins the car around, and now it's at a standoff. You got the Beamer on one side, the Demogorgon on the other side, and you could see like the thing kind of thinks for a second and then just turns and runs to like a nearby, I think it's called a silo at a barn. It probably just wants to get to any wall. I feel like any flat structure, I mean, I guess technically the ground could work, but it might take too long. You know, by the time it bends over and opens up the gate, the Beamer could have, you know, gassed it and run it over. So it takes off quickly before they can even react. And it grabs, you know, the silo, tears the thing right open, opens a gate. We do see and hear the tracker. It's still embedded in the beast's back. So we know that part of that plan was a success. And the thing goes and heads right back into the upside down. And my first thought was, it flipped.
It's headed back towards us.
Come on. What are you doing, man? We gotta turn around.
Wait, gates are kind of like peanut butter boppers, right?
What?
The outside's like crunchy and tough, but then you bite down on it, gives way to a gooey, creamy core.
Dude, what the hell are you talking
If I
about?
drive fast enough, I think the Beamer could punch a hole straight into the gate, and then we can track the demo on its home turf in the upside down. Follow it straight back to Hollow.
We're losing the signal. We're not gonna be able to follow anything if we crash.
We're not gonna crash if it's like a bopper.
It's almost gone!
Do it.
I love that Steve, his callback is to this random peanut butter bar, this random like candy bar that Murray got for him, smuggled in. He was all excited about boppers, and the gate reminded him of a bopper. You know, crunchy and tough, but once you bite down on it, it gives way to a gooey, creamy core. And he's thinking, you know, once we, like, the gate's open, so we can just drive right through before the gate closes. And what I love is Jonathan's like, what the hell are you talking about? Dustin's just worried about losing the signal. And the only thing that Steve waits for, the only confirmation, is from Nancy. And I love that Jonathan's freaking out, Dustin's freaking out, Steve is kind of like nervous as well. And Nancy has this cold look on her face, this like determined look, because she is the goddamn boss. And she just says, do it. And Steve doesn't say, are you sure? Doesn't say, okay, anyone else? Once Nancy says do it, Steve's like, that's all I need to hear. And he rams on the gas. Like, I love it. And my favorite line, like, because they're freaking out, Dustin's freaking out when he goes, no, it's not a bopper. That was my favorite line that he said. It's not a bopper. But bada, bada, boom. They make it through the gate, make it to the upside down. They now have a strong signal tracking Flower Face. So they drive on in pursuit because they got you now, you son of a bitch. So the Demogorgon runs on, and then we get to see that new creature feature of Demovision again as we see what Will is seeing through the Demogorgon's eyes or face or whatever vision. But then it changes because all of a sudden we see this, almost like a cave. Am I looking at stalagmites or stalactites or both? Because I have to be honest, I never know the difference between those. But then we see kids. Kids are in danger. These kids are trapped, held in place almost by like this blanket of grossness. They're propped up against a wall of grossness, much like Will at the beginning of chapter 1. And much like Will, they have those tentacles hooked up into their mouths. And, oh God, Holly is one of those kids. So Will wakes up, snaps out of his trance. Joyce grabs him and comforts him, tries to calm him down as he seems to be like almost hyperventilating, overwhelmed by what we just saw. And then we cut to the opening credits, the last time that we hear this sweet, sweet opening credits song until Christmas Day. So the first thing we see after the opening credits is the Disney animated classic, The Sword in the Stone, that I have to tell you, until I looked it up, I could have sworn that this movie came out in the early 80s. Turns out, nope, the early 60s. So I was way off. So by the time it's being watched at home in Hawkins, it's already a classic or already something these kids grew up with always being there. And in that movie, you know, that one of the characters happens to be a wizard, you know, just an interesting thought. So we see that this episode is written by Paul Dichter. He's been with Stranger Things like all the way back to season 1. He's written The Upside Down, Will the Wise, The Flayed, Dear Billy, and Sorcerer. I mean, he's been a writer for some of the biggest episodes of Stranger Things. So the movie The Sword in the Stone is being watched by some kid we've never seen before. Some girl with a barking dog who realizes that, someone must be at the door. So they go open the door and it's the military. And the parents are like, what is this about? They said, it's your daughter, sir. And then they take her away. Not like a struggle where they force her away. They're just escorting her to a military police bus filled with other kids. Mike and Lucas on their bikes, they see that this is happening. And the final opening credit we see is that this episode was directed by the Duffer Brothers. So we have a quick scene in the Upside Down where our trackers, that's what I'm calling Dustin, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan, they're driving to Roan Cemetery, which is, almost out at the county line. Jonathan's like, doesn't this thing get tired? And Dustin says, it looks like the opposite, like it's actually speeding up. And he's losing the signal because of some weird interference. And he and Steve get into another argument about what to do, so much so that they totally don't notice when there's something right in front of them. Nancy and Jonathan are screaming at them for stop, 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 but it's too late. Steve slams on the brakes, but they seem to smash right into something. Something I can only assume is Vecna's Wall of Weird. Back at the farm, Joyce is desperately trying to connect with that crew on the radio, but no dice. Robin's like, hey, that probably means they made it through. Do you want to see where they're headed? And then they go into the barn to see Will is like frantically painting something on the barn wall, trying to recreate what he just saw in his vision. And that brings me back all the way to Stranger Things 2 when he basically mapped out the tunnels. Remember that? Like he's doing it again. Like he can remember what he saw and he's trying to recreate it on the wall here. He doesn't quite know what it is, but he knows it's important to him. And Derek says to Mr. What's-It? And I love that they're like, well, his real name is actually Henry A.K. Vecna, AK1. And like, I feel like anybody hearing all that would give the exact same response that Derek gave.
That's too many names.
Why won't you just zip it and listen, dipshit?
Okay, Erica, a little harsh. This kid's like going through some traumatic stuff right now. But at the same time, you were friends with his sister and you have seen that he is or has been a little shit in the past. But he's right, though. That's a lot of names. And anyone else coming into this would be like, I got to keep up with all these names. What the hell? This is a lot to take in all in, 30 seconds. So Will seems to think that what he saw, he wasn't supposed to see. Something that Vecna did not want William to see. Robin surmises that maybe it's because he's closer to the hive mind than ever before. He's closer now than ever before. That's for the few people who might know Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. So he didn't just tap into the mind, he jacked right into the goddamn control center. And Holly, she was there. She was attached to that, like the spire, he said. So I guess that's what you're calling them, spires, not stalagmites, stalactites, spires. I like that better. And like she's become part of this somehow, like it was doing something to her. And there were others. There were 3 others. So there are 4 kids that have been taken now. And Erica's like, I thought Vecna was just coming for dipshit. Again, now we know there's a line later coming, a great line, a great response from Derek. And I think that is in direct response to the fact that Erica just called him dipshit twice. And the fact that Erica said dipshit and Will's like, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. He's like, yeah, so did I. But I only knew about Derek because I walked past him. And Robin's like, I'm not liking all these extra spires. So Will, draws all these different spires that he's seeing, but there's only 4 that have kids attached to them. So there are 8 empty ones. That means he's escalating. He's coming for more because he takes Holly. Then the next day he takes 3 more kids. And now there's 8 empty spots. So if things are what they think they are, he looks like he's going to try to kidnap 12 kids. What does he want with them? Why kids? Why 12? Like they don't know anything that's going on, but they have to stop him before he takes any more. They have to buy Dustin and the others time to find that place, to find wherever the Demogorgon's going, and to find Holly. And the other kids too, but mostly Holly. And Robin brings up a good point. Like if they can figure out exactly who the other targets are, they can get them out of Hawkins and out of Vecna's reach. But of course, Erica reminds them, they're all in quarantine right now. And then at that exact moment, Mike and Lucas show up. And you know me, I love when our groups reunite. Mike shows up just in time to say, and that's not all. He tells them that he saw a bunch of kids being loaded on a bus by the government. And they don't think those kids are going to school. So Vecna's not the only one who wants those kids. But why? Like, what has happened that has the military suddenly rounding up kids? And are they just rounding up every kid in Hawkins? Like, what is going on there? What do they know? So we jump over to Dr. K's upside down military lab, and we get that answer, what the military wants with these kids. We get that answer right away. So she's filling in Sullivan that there are 3 more missing kids taken hours after Holly. So the military knows this, and there are 73 children in Hawkins between the ages of 9 and 10. If the pattern holds, the next target will be from this group. So she mentions that 11 was there the night that Holly was taken, and she seems to think 11 might have taken the other kids too. And Sullivan's like, why? And this is what drives me nuts. She says killing them, protecting them, the reason doesn't matter. I'm sorry, are you kidding me? Because I think there is a big difference between killing them and protecting them. And I think what matters most of all is keeping these kids safe, if that is your objective here. But it's not. Nope. She didn't gather these kids to protect them. She gathered them to better the odds that the next target is in that group, to try to hopefully lead their predator, which I guess they think is 11. I don't know if they know anything else going on. If they just think there's some weird stuff going here, there's an upside down, there's some monsters, but 11 is their main villain. Do they really think that? And all these kids are now holed up at the Max Z, and she wants Sullivan there too. So I guess she wants Sullivan there. Again, I don't think to protect them. I think to get ready for whatever's coming. So he walks off, but Ramirez straggles back for a moment and shares his opinion that, he doesn't He doesn't like this. He's like, using these kids as bait seems a little reckless. And Kay's like, well, it's only reckless if you fail to protect them. Are you telling me you can't protect them? And he's like, no, ma'am. Oh, good. So like that, again, that way of thinking seems so reckless. So we can really, like, we know now that we can hate Dr. K. There's no, she doesn't realize that she's on the wrong side and she really is trying to help. Nope, I don't think that's the case at all. The fact that she's taking 73 kids and saying, okay, monster, come and get it. Like, or okay, 11, come and get it. Just that part seems absolutely reckless. And I'm not rooting for anybody in this group, but it does seem like Ramirez at least has a bit of a conscience, and he's somewhat likable, or out of all of them, he is the most likable one. I guess we could say that. So we jump from the scary and dangerous Upside Down to a nice, beautiful, sunny day that just happens to actually be even more scary and more dangerous. Henry's mind. Max is tending to Holly's wound, though. Like, that's not real. The wound isn't real, right? Unless somewhere Holly actually now has a wound underneath. That would be interesting. That's reminds me of like Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. But where they are right now, this is the only reality they have, so it must feel real. Max says she doesn't think she'll need stitches, but I thought, like, could they manipulate reality to just get rid of the wound? Because Max kind of did that when she manipulated, her memories to go to the dance. But again, that was in Max's memories, and right now they're in Vecna's memories. So I'm guessing there's some sort of limitation of what you can and can't do. But Holly's like, do you remember who I am? She's like, yeah, you're the girl with the skateboard and the Walkman. But Max is like, how am I here when I'm in a coma in Hawkins General? That's a very reasonable question. I wanted her to say, how are you here? Which is a callback to Lost, if you ever watched Lost. So they hear something. So they head off, and Max says, we need to go back to my home. Holly's like, I came here to meet Henry. Do you know Henry? And I love this. She goes, you could say that. Holly still thinks that Henry left the note, but Max tells her, no, Henry didn't write it. I did. Holly is like confused, and now she's worried that she's actually that Max is actually one of the monsters that Henry warned her about. And to be honest, I think she is. I think she is the monster that Henry might be warning her about. Only this is a monster to Henry. So I would think of her more as a superhero. She convinces Holly that she is who she is by sharing a funny memory of Mike almost getting a orange mohawk, a hot orange mohawk to be specific. That seemed to convince Holly that Max is who she says she is, and she follows Maxine through the cave walls to an opening. They come through this cave. There was the wall before that Holly walked up to. They go through these caves, and they come out to an opening. And that's where we hear the clip from the beginning of this episode where it's like, got this really nice view. And Holly's like, where are we? And Max says, we're in a memory. It's in a world of 1,000 memories. And it may look nice, but it's not. It's a prison. It's Henry's prison. And Holly looks out and she sees this sprawling landscape that I saw someone, it might have been on Reddit, they thought it looked an awful lot like the billboard that 11 was looking at back in Nevada when she came up with the piggyback plan. Remember, it was like the billboard, and there was a kid, doing like on a parent's back, piggybacking, and it was this big, I think it was the Grand Canyon. That's what this kind of reminds me of. It does kind of look like it. It's not exact, but it does kind of look like it, and I like that someone brought that back. And I don't know if that is of any importance or if it's just a fun little Easter egg, but I thought I'd mention it. And when she calls this place Henry's prison, we zoom away from them and we see that they're on a cliff and this cave opening, and like it just pulls back and we see just how massive, just how big this world, this prison really is. So we come back to that bus that we saw the kids getting loaded on. It's daytime now and the bus is pretty full. So they've basically, I guess, been rounding up these kids all night. that girl we saw, the first one that was taken, she's visibly upset with everything going on. And her teacher is basically trying to, calm her down and make her feel better. And again, I just love that the real life actress who plays the teacher, she's the actual real life high school drama teacher of the Duffer Brothers. Like if you go to her IMDb page, she has one credit, and that is of this character in Stranger Things 5. And I just think that's a really cool thing that the Duffers did. She's like, it's okay, sweetie. These are the good guys. They're going to help keep everyone safe. And again, it's nice being that like naive and having your head in the sand. And it's not even her fault. She sees this terrible like tragedy, this terrible disaster happen in her town, and the military shows up. Of course they're helping. What else would they be doing? And she tells them, just think of this as a field trip, like a learning expedition. And, while she thinks they're there to keep everyone safe, I'm wondering, I bet even some of the military think that they're there to keep everyone safe. Like they don't even know everything that's going on. They don't realize that they're taking all these kids and they're just bringing them there to be bait. So the bus pulls into the Max Z, and Erica, she's up in the clock tower that apparently not one person in the military like ever notices or looks up. It's broad daylight and she's up there, and that's fine. And you just have to accept that. That is the conceit. They never think to look up there, and they don't think they'd see like a small child with binoculars checking things out. But she is she's watching all this, and she's reporting back through the walkie-talkie that they have arrived. They've been taken to the barracks second from the library. So now they know exactly where these kids are going to be taken. And that's good, because back at the radio station, everyone's back at the radio station now, and they're trying to come up with a plan, like how do we get these kids out of there? Joyce is looking at the map, and she realizes that the barracks, like she sees right where they are, and the barracks are right over the north tunnel, which finally they get a lucky break. And Mike's like, yeah, so we need all the luck we can get, because we assume the military is protecting these kids, so the barracks, they're going to be heavily guarded. I feel like you're half right. It is going to be heavily guarded, but I don't think it's because they're protecting the kids. I think it's because they're waiting for the quote unquote monster to arrive. Again, they think the monster is a teenage girl. So Mike's thinking, we have to dig up through the barracks, grab the kids. Mike comes up with this plan. It's pretty great. Dig up through the barracks, grab the kids, and get them to Murray so he can smuggle them out. But they have to do that without anybody noticing that they're taken, without anyone seeing anything that's going on. And that's when Robin suddenly and without warning just says, Dick. And they're like, what? She's like, wait, none of you have seen The Great Escape? And she talks about how it's a movie about POWs trying to escape from the Nazis. So they dig these 3 tunnels that they nickname Tom, Dick, and Harry. And if you've ever seen an episode of Third Rock from the Sun, those names will sound mighty familiar to you. So what they do is they actually put these tunnels in places that are hidden from the Nazis, like under a stove or in a washroom. And that's her thing. Like she thinks she likes the idea of using the washroom. She likes Dick.
I like Dick. Oh, sorry, the washroom. I actually don't even... Never mind.
Okay, say we go with Dick. How do we find the washroom?
And how do we get the kids to it?
How do we even know which kids are being targeted by Vecna?
We use an inside man. Someone who could get into the barracks, measure the distance to the washroom, find out which kids have actually seen Mr. Whatsit, and somehow avoid the military altogether.
Well, that's a lovely plan, but isn't it a tad...
Mission Impossible-y.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, who are you gonna get to do this? Bond? Magnus?
No, we don't want a super spy. We want the opposite. We want someone no one would suspect. Someone that could just walk in, no questions asked. The one kid the military failed to wrangle.
What?
I love it. Number 1, they have a plan. Number 2, they're involving Derek. Like he's becoming one of them right before our very eyes. And I love that Robin's idea, her plan, comes from a movie, because you remember she worked at the video store, and she gushes about movies, you know, like not just working at the video store, but loving the movies that she's renting out to people. So of course she's seen The Great Escape. Of course she knows this is a great idea. Confession, I've never seen the movie. But they have a plan, so that's the good thing. So we go back to the Upside Down, and apparently G.I. Jerkoff is not dead. Unfortunately, he's still alive. 11 didn't melt his brain, even though I was hoping, really hoping that she did. He's awake, and he gets out of his restraints, and he heads off. So he was still there where Hop and 11 left him, but now he was able to get away and head off. And we jump over to Hopper and 11. They're casing the Upside Down lab, like they're looking at it, and from afar with their binoculars. And 11 is convinced that Vecna is in there, but Hopper's like, I don't know, like if your kryptonite was in there, like he wouldn't have his powers either. So how could he do anything? Like how could he have anything to do with Holly's kidnapping? And 11's like, you can ask him that before I kill him, okay? How high is that fence? Remember we saw her practicing these leaps, and she wants to jump that fence, and he's like, no. This isn't your training, and that roof is metal. You'll alert everyone that like you're there the moment you land. And she's like, no, not if I time it with the thunder. Like that's crazy, but it seems crazy, right? But then she realizes that the thunder comes every 7 seconds after the red lightning. This isn't like a real thunderstorm at home where, you know, the time changes how close or far away the storm is. Like she's figured out that every 7 seconds after lightning, you get the thunder and the thunder. And you could see Hopper's like, he's still not convinced, even though 11 demonstrates it right there. And he just says that's lucky. And then all of a sudden they hear someone who they definitely were not expecting on the walkie-talkie. It's Dustin. Our trackers, they're ecstatic. They're happy to hear that Hopper and 11 are alive and they're together. And he says, hey, can you meet us over by the Roan Cemetery? And Hopper's like, huh? Wait, Roan Cemetery? Like, how are you contacting us from there? He's like, oh, right. We're in the Upside Down. And Hopper's like, what?
Long story short, we're in here to track a Demogorgon using our telemetry tracker, only to then hit a wall. Literally. Now, Steve's beamer is stuck, so we need Elle to come and pry it loose using her power so we can then resume the search for said Demogorgon, which will in theory lead us to Holly. Does any of this make sense? Do you need additional details? Questions? Concerns? Over.
So you can hear a little bit of that Dustin doucheness seeping through, but this is mid-adventure Dustin when he's at his very best, so I'll let it slide. Plus, they've been through a lot in the last few minutes. So Hopper asks about the wall and asks them to describe it. And that's when they realize that they're not at the same spot where Hopper and 11 were, which means that this wall is humongous. And oh, by the way, Hopper said that they hit the wall over by Hagen Bridge, which I just had to mention because Hagen is the name of my little beagle girl. Oh, I love her. She's like over on the couch, letting me spend the day talking to you guys. So he says, Hopper says he doesn't know. They don't know what the wall is, but they think Holly's behind it, and they're working on a solution. And Nancy grabs the walkie and is like, solution? What kind of solution? But Hopper doesn't say. He just says, keep the airways clear. We'll come get you. And like, that's it. One of those, there's no time to explain it. So they tell Nancy and the trackers, we have a solution. What? Well, I can't say now. We'll come and get you. But they don't go right away because before they do, he must have had a change of thought at some point, or maybe 11's arguments have like kind of resonated with him because he says, let's go see if that training of yours has paid off.
You're gonna let me jump?
Let's go before I change my mind.
So we go back to Max and Holly, where Max is basically filling Holly in on what like happened that caused everything that's going on in Hawkins, and fill her and the rest of us in on what's happened to her since then.
With each victim that he took, he created a new gate.
A gate to the Upside Down?
When he took me, He opened the fourth, final gate, splitting Hawkins in two.
Wait, but if Mr. Henry took you, how are you here?
You mean, shouldn't I be dead? It's okay. It's a fair question. I definitely should be. And for a moment, I was. I don't know how long I was gone, but then I felt something calling to me.
Of course, we remember that as Max was breathing her dying breath, 11 simply said no. And she reached into her with her powers, and she did not let Max leave. But where did Max's mind go? I don't think it's a coincidence that Vecna tries to kill her and 11 tries to save her, and she ends up exactly where the two of them had their big face-off. Yes, Max wakes up inside the Rainbow Room of the Hawkins lab, surrounded by the dead left by Henry's rampage. Max must have no idea what's going on here, what she's even looking at. All she sees is a bunch of dead children. So she runs. She runs out of the room, and she runs down this hallway, and she hears people on the other side of a door. And she slowly walks down the hall and opens the door into a high school.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do, 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 shaboom. Life could be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love.
Life could be a dream, sweetheart. She seems to have walked right into a high school in what looks like it's got to be the 1950s. Hawkins seems like it's one of those places where you have generations upon generations of families that have been living there for generations, for lack of a better word. We see a young girl trying to sell tickets to a school play for only 50 cents. I just went to my niece's school play a couple of weeks ago, and it cost me $10 each. My wife $10, me $10. That is a 1,900% increase from what this person, this young woman, is selling their play tickets for. And this guy goes by, he's got a nice head of hair on him. He walks by and he makes fun of the stupid play. He calls her by her name. He says, Joyce. Ooh, she calls him Harrington. Ha ha ha. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So I assume this is Steve's dad, took the flyer from Joyce, rolled it up and tossed it in the garbage. He missed, so Max went over and she picked up the flyer, and it was for the play Oklahoma, and it had some pretty recognizable names on it. Joyce Maldonado, a.k.a. Joyce Byers, James Hopper Jr., Hop, Karen Childress, a.k.a. Karen Wheeler, Patty Newby, now that last name sounds pretty familiar, Alan Munson, who happens to be Eddie's dad, Ted Wheeler. It seems like every parent was in this play, and introducing Henry Creel as Curly McLean. So everybody is in the play, including Henry, and they all went to high school together. And it is my understanding that these names and this play are from the Stranger Things play, The First Shadow. So like people who have seen the play, they're probably getting giddy with excitement for seeing this. But for those of us who haven't, just seeing the names are cool, but I'm assuming like there's nothing like major from the play we have to know. It's just like, oh, see the play? It does kind of play into this. There is like the stuff that happens in that play does matter, I guess. And I mean, maybe they were seniors and Henry was a freshman. I didn't realize Henry was even in high school when they put him away. Maybe he came from the junior high. Maybe they're putting like they're bringing in junior high kids to be in the play as well. And did you notice that the play, it says November 6th, 1959. It says that right on the flyer, Stranger Things Day. And like, is the fact that the play happened on that exact day, does that mean something? Or is it just a little Easter egg? Okay, so a play, November 6th. Will is taken on November 6th. Was Will targeted because of Joyce? Now that we know the connection, there is some sort of connection? And does the play really play that much into it? And if I remember correctly, isn't like Patty Newby a major part of the play? I could be completely wrong. All I know about the play is I've said play about 20 times in the last 30 seconds, was the special that Netflix put out, like the behind the scenes thing. So I don't know much about it. I think a neighbor of mine went to see it with her daughter. So I'm extremely jealous of her. And again, I'd love to see it. Hopefully someday my niece and I can go see that together. So Max explains to Holly that she was in another time. It's almost 30 years ago. Only she wasn't actually there. She was just kind of an observer. And that's when she realized she is in Henry's mind. She realizes now that she's inside a memory, inside Henry's memory.
Like a nightmare prison world ruled by an evil, psychopathic piece of shit.
Like Camazotz.
What?
Camazotz. From A Wrinkle in Time.
Never read it.
You should. It's amazing. Camazotz is like this dark planet that's under the control of it, which is this giant disembodied evil brain. Anyways, Meg's dad, Meg's the main character, he gets taken prisoner there. So Henry's kind of like it, and you're kind of like Meg's dad.
Okay, well, I don't know if Meg's dad would agree, but the way I see it, when you're a prisoner in a messed up prison world, you really only have a few doors open to you. Door 1, you take your own life. Door 2, accept your fate. Or door 3.
You escape.
I chose door 3.
That seems like the best door.
So I wonder if like A Wrinkle in Time superfans are all excited when they hear Camazotz, or even when they saw the episode title Camazotz, they must be like, whoa, that's right out of A Wrinkle in Time. Oh my goodness. And for the rest of us, it's like, oh, that's a cool name. Like I had no idea what the name was. I thought maybe they made it up. It reminded me of, I thought maybe it was another prison. I don't know what it was. Instead, it is at least what Holly is using to compare to this Henry mind prison. And Max is, keep updating her still on the fact that once she realized where she was and what was going on, she figured she needed to find a way to escape. She'd moved from memory to memory. She got lost. She'd get turned around, like so turned around that she'd end up right back at the beginning. And at one point, she gets so turned around that she ends up going right back into the rainbow room, right back at the beginning. And she's like, oh, and she goes to turn around. And that's when she heard her. Keep running up that hill, keep running up that hill. So she tells Holly that she heard Kate Bush, and Holly's like, oh, is she one of your friends? And I love Max. Max is like, yeah, you could say that. She says that music has a way of finding you, even in the darkest of your places. Lucas had used it before to reach me, to guide me out of Vecna's mind back to the light. So Holly's like, oh, so this music was coming from Lucas, from the real world. And I love that she says, even after all this time, he hadn't given up on me. So she's like, okay, you follow the music, then what? And she's like, then it would lead me back out of here, back home. At least that's what I thought. But then everything went wrong. So she's like up against that it was the mirror, but it almost looked like it's covered in paper now. The mirror that was that 11 put Henry through, and then of course when 11 ripped him apart and shoved him into the upside down that first time. But now it looks like it's just kind of covered up with paper, and she almost like rips through it. And as she rips through it, we jump out of there and we go back to the Mac Z. So we go back to the Max Z and we see all the military. They're militarying about. And then this young, sweet boy approaches them holding only a lunchbox. A soldier steps up to him and, like, did you notice they're all kind of pricky to him, right? They're like, what are you doing? Can't you read? No trespassing. He's like, right, I see that, officer. It's just My school is missing. He's such an innocent boy. How could you not bring him in to save him? Even though they don't realize he's like the number one target that Vecna's looking for right now. Well, I shouldn't say the number one. He's one of the main targets that they're looking for, and they bring him right through the gates, just like that. They invited the opposition into their midst, and they didn't even realize it. And I love that, even with everything going on, Derek's still a kid. He still gets excited by things, and he sees 2 vehicles go by with 2 more of those hedgehog speaker things on them.
Holy shit, are those laser blasters?
Might just be. And they'll blast you if you don't keep it moving.
So, none of these soldiers' parents, I mean, my goodness, the asshole shoves him. This cute, innocent child who is obviously scared. And these jerks, well, they're being jerks to him. But little do they know what they just let into their base. So they bring him into a barracks with the rest of the school. And the first question that Derek asks, which probably is the same thing I'd ask, is where do I go to the bathroom? But I love that the way Derek asks it. He's like, where might I relieve myself? Because Derek is ready to get to work. Back at the radio station, Murray is once again coming through with more stuff that he seems to smuggle in for them. He brings a breaking bar, a shovel, and 5 safety goggles. I don't know what a breaking bar is. I've never heard that term before, but I do know what it's used for. He also brings a surveyor's wheel, and he shows off that he says Santa's sleigh is ready for reindeer, which is perfect because it is the Christmas season. He shows this small area that in the back of his truck that he's done the best he can with getting it ready for the kids that they're going to hide in there, which sounds bad when you say it out loud, but we know it's for a good thing. We know it's for a good reason. So they take all the stuff from Murray, and then Joyce gets a call on her walkie. It's Derek. He's in.
Yes, we copy. Where are you?
Bathroom, back stall. 45 of my paces from the front entrance.
Good job. Now round up anyone who's seen Mr. Wetted.
And we'll be there soon. And remember, you're not dipshit Derek. You're
delightful Derek.
And with that line, a legend is born. He comes out of the bathroom, takes his gum, uses it to stick an out of order sign on that bathroom stall, and he heads back in to the barracks with the rest of the kids. So we go back into the Upside Down, and 11 is tightening up her kicks, or as we used to say, her sneakers, which I don't know if I assume that's what people called them then. I don't think there was any other nickname. Your sneaks, your tennis shoes, your joggers. No, those are pants, I think. I don't know. Anyway, she's if she had Reebok pumps, she'd be pumping them up right now because she's getting ready to make the leap of a lifetime. Harper's like, all right, once we get that gate open, once we're in there and I'm inside, she's like, you lead. He says, that's right. And then she says, you? He's like, I'll destroy your kryptonite. Don't worry. Like he says it softly, almost like one way or another, he's going to make sure that whatever kryptonite is there, he will destroy it. She walks off and Hopper watches her go, but not before checking to see. Like I thought at this moment he was checking to see if he's bleeding. This is what I had here at this moment. That's what he's checking something on his jacket. I think later on we see that's not quite the case. So 11 goes and gets ready to start counting. She sees the lightning and then boom, she takes off. And Hopper's like, come on, you got this. You got this. And it's like 1, 2, 3. She jumps. And I mean, she clears that fence easily. 4, 5, 6, and you could see she hits that roof perfectly when the thunder cracks. And in fact, she kind of uses her powers to slow herself down a bit to break her fall, but she times it perfectly. Nobody notices, even the guard who's like, basically she's behind. If he turned around, he'd be like, oh my God. But right away, she's on the move. She goes off of one landing and she slides down, like all the things that we kind of saw her do in her training. She does kind of do one of those overly posed landings, but I'll let it pass because she's a superhero. She's climbing over another thing, down a roof, up, sliding, bing. I mean, it's like a fun obstacle course, except, it's life or death here. And luckily, nobody notices. And then she goes to jump for the guard's tower, and Harper's like, oh God, you're too early. And she did She jumped a little too soon, and she ended up just barely getting to the guard tower, holding on for dear life. But in doing so, she was noticed by the guard, and he kind of comes over. He's like, what's going on here? He glances over with his gun pointed down, and he's probably thinking, oh my God, it's her. It's the girl. And then she's like, sorry, and I'm dead. Like, I didn't think she was actually going to snap this poor guy's neck, but she's not effing around. Like, this is life or death here, and these people have been shooting at them, and they're doing something to try to. She thinks they have Vecna. They're doing something that's hurting her. They're the bad guys, and she does say sorry, but then he's dead. So she sneaks down to the ground level and lets Hopper in through the door. It doesn't seem like the place is that heavily guarded. Maybe most of these guys are out at the Max Z right now. There was one guard, and unfortunately he's now dead. Unfortunately for him. Fortunate probably for us and for Eleven and for Hopper. But for him, he probably isn't very happy about the fact that he's dead. So they start walking in through the grounds, and Eleven's like, thank you for teaching me and trusting me. And Hopper says, always. And he just walks on, and they head deeper into the lab. And I love that it's very dramatic and deep. And we don't realize, when we look back on it now, we know what's going through Hopper's head, what he thinks he has to do, what he thinks he's going to do. And the fact that, he's putting his daughter in harm's way to try to save her as well. It's got to be a lot to think about, a lot to deal with. So we jump back to the Max Z barracks, where Derek is giving a rousing speech to anyone who will listen.
The day of reckoning has arrived. With this in mind, I've been sent by Mr. Whatsit to gather the chosen ones. If you've been visited by Mr. Whatsit, speak now, and when night falls, follow me to the latrine, and I will lead you to our savior, to safety.
Derek's gone mental.
Monsters are coming, and you're all gonna die. Ha 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 ha.
Derek, were you talking about Henry?
So it seems like these kids have no idea what Derek's talking about, and they just kind of laugh him off. But to be fair, those kids really don't have anything to worry about, at least not directly. But then he turns around, and there's little Debbie. Oh, great. Now I want those little snack cakes, little Debbie's. I think they still make them. Oh, I want one of those right now. I feel like I should stop. Nope. You know what? Nope. Don't give in to the craving. Self-control. Okay, so Debbie turns around and, Derek turns around, and it's Debbie, and she's like, were you talking about Henry? And of course it's going to be the girl we saw at the beginning watching Sword in the Stone. Why would they highlight this kid if she didn't just come up later? I mean, yeah, they could have just had it be any random kid that then leads you into the fact that they're gathering all these kids on a bus. But I like the fact that it is someone who we've already met and spent a little time with. And like, even just for the few seconds, we already recognize her. We head back outside the radio station where Lucas, Mike, Robin, Joyce, Murray, and Will are all heading through the field that leads to their tunnel entrance. Lucas can't believe that the fate of the world rests on Derek freaking Turnbow. But Joyce says sometimes people need someone to believe in them, and then they can do amazing things. That sounds like a good thought. Maybe that someone could just be yourself, too. So Mike and Will are talking about Robin and Joyce getting along better, and Will says, well, it helps that his mom helped save everyone's life by scaring the Demogorgon off. But Mike had another theory. Like, what if when Will is seeing through the Demogorgon's eyes, he can actually do more than just see?
Are you positive you didn't?
Didn't what?
Turn off the scary movie. Protect your mom, not the other way around. I mean, no offense, I know she's badass and everything, but you know.
Yeah, she's 5'3".
Yeah, and Vecna likes to control the hive mind like a puppet master. So maybe when you tap into the hive, you can pull the strings too.
Except I'm not Vecna.
You sort of are.
You're trying to say that I'm evil and hell-bent on destroying the world?
Totally. No, I'm just saying that, you're like a wizard, like him.
In D&D, Mike, not real life.
True. In real life, you're more like a sorcerer, because your powers don't come from a book of spells. They're innate. Listen, as far as crazy theories go, I've had crazier. And with 11 in the Upside Down, we really need some magic up here.
So I mentioned that, that it looked like the Demogorgon is backing up, and why would it ever do that? And Mike, I guess Mike's think alike, because Mike's wondering, what if your connection to the hive mind, like, allowed you to kind of help with that? You can pull the strings. He's like, except I'm not Vecna. He's like, well, you sort of are. I just love that that he says you're a wizard. He's like, no, that's in Dungeons and Dragons, not real life. But he's like, no, in real life, you're like a sorcerer. Boom, there's the name of the episode. So I don't think I realized the difference. A wizard, you learn your spells from books, but with a sorcerer, they're just innate. They're in you. They're part of you. They come from within. And I thought that was really cool. And they had this nice little moment of them, like Mike giving Will this really nice compliment, and Will just kind of giving him a little shove, like a friendly shove. But Robin noticed it, and you wonder, is like she thinking, oh, Mike is who Will has a crush on, or is it like it's nice to see Will smile and have a little self-confidence because someone believes in him, like Joyce just said, a few minutes ago. So either way, like Robin can't help but notice she probably is thinking, oh, maybe Mike is that person for Will. Whether Mike knows it or whether Mike feels that way is regardless. This is who Will thinks of. That's just my guess. So Robin heads into the tunnel. In fact, I think they all head into the tunnel except for Murray. We head back to the Upside Down, where the car is still stuck in the wall. I don't even know how it got up there, but it's stuck in there pretty good. And Dustin's in the backseat. No one else is in there, just Dustin's in the backseat, still listening for anything. And he hears something. It's some sort of interference, it sounded like, again. And he talked about he was getting interference before. And for some reason, something gets him really excited, so he grabs a map. Inside, there's a church, or maybe it's the chapel by the cemetery. Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan are waiting. They said they would sit by and wait for Hopper and 11. And you can see Nancy's annoyed. She's like pacing and annoyed. She doesn't like the fact that Hopper said they're working on a solution, but why not include them? Like, why are they left out of this? Steve thinks, maybe we should just keep moving. Maybe we don't have to listen to them. Like, listen, we can just keep going, looking for a door or something. And Jonathan's like, what? But Nancy agrees with them. And again, I think that's what matters most to Steve. He's like, oh, okay. They can't just sit there. This wall, like, it can't go on forever. There has to be a way around it.
There isn't. This wall is a circle. A circle completely surrounding the Upside Down.
Oh, yeah? And how exactly do you figure that?
Because unlike you, I didn't sleep through Algebra 1.
Oh, snap. Again, Dustin, a little bit of a dink there, but Steve kind of was asking for it that time. I think of me and my best friend, and we constantly like snip at each other like that in a funny way. And we joke often, like, how are we friends? Like, what's going on here? How is this happening? It's hilarious. I mean, he's been my friend since I was 3 years old. So I can recognize this kind of brotherly friendship, annoyance with each other, that they're there for each other, even if they're getting on each other's nerves. But Dustin, he is a genius. Like, he figured this out. He calculated that the wall actually is surrounding the entire Upside Down. Does that mean all of it? All of Hawkins? Is it keeping Hawkins in? Is it keeping something out? And like, does that mean that the wall in Henry's mind, the one that Holly went to, the one that Max is hiding in, does that mean that's unrelated? And then I was thinking, like, what if it's not a wall? What if it's growing up and it's like a dome that will cover everything? I don't know. That's just a thought I had. Like, it's humongous, and maybe it looks like it's alive, and maybe it is alive, and maybe it's, changing, growing, getting bigger, getting more disgusting. And at the center of that just happens to be the Hawkins lab. There is no chance that's a coinkydink. And this crew, they're definitely going to go check that out. But we don't see that. We don't see them again for the rest of this episode. They're off doing their adventure. I feel like maybe when we come back on Christmas, we might catch up with them first because we've left them already. But I'm excited to see what they find and what is so important about the Hawkins lab. I mean, I often think Vecna is this interdimensional being. He took over this other dimension. I mean, he started off as just a human, but a human with incredible powers, and he went into this other world. He's kind of being able to take over people's minds and take control. Why Hawkins? Why is he still in Hawkins? Why does he care about Hawkins anymore? I mean, we've had the breaches in Russia, or at least they tried to make one in Russia, right? But why here? And is it just because that's where Henry grew up? Is it that's just the beginning and it's going to become kind of a global issue? Or is there something else? And is the lab kind of the answer to that question? It's very cool. I love that this little mystery is left up in the air. And I'm excited to see where this part of the story picks up when we see our friends again. We all know that once something is named in Stranger Things, once one of our friends gives it a name, that's it. It sticks. That's the name. We've had that with the Demogorgon, with Vecna, with the Mind Flayer, with the Upside Down. So with Holly calling Vecna's mind Camazotz, well, there you go. That's what I'm going to refer to it as here on out. So we cut back exactly to when Max cut through that paper that was covering the broken mirror in the Rainbow Room, and it leads to a new memory, one that she was in. This is Henry's memory of the first time he connected with Max and cursed her. She was in the classroom and she got the nosebleed, but she still had the music to guide her. So she followed it, and it led to new memories, but they were like terrible memories. She's reliving her worst moments of being cursed with Henry, coming across Billy, escaping him that first time, and it all led up to the night Vecna killed her in the Creel house. So the Max in Camazotz walks up into the attic of the Creel house, and I'm thinking, is she going to go in and have to relive her death? But no. She walks up into what looks exactly like that part of Henry's mind where he first brought Fred, Chrissy, and Patrick. You remember where all the Creel house parts were floating around? That red nightmare of Vecna? But Max didn't find anything terrible like that here. Instead, she found a way out. She could see a portal, much like when she escaped the first time when she saw herself floating in the cemetery, only this time she saw Lucas sitting there at the hospital next to her. She was so close that she could feel his hand. It was like she was right there. She was with him in the hospital. And she ran towards him, ran towards that way out, that window back to safety. But then we hear the beeping of the heart monitor. Remember that? Remember in that previous episode, the heart monitor, they kind of showed that. And at that moment, the tape stopped and the window just closed shut. It's almost like the heart monitor sound along with the tape ending was enough of a distraction that she couldn't quite connect back to reality. And like little did Lucas know when that happened, we saw that happen, that she was so close to being back, like right there, right on the precipice of getting back to her. And then he has to go and rewind the tape. And I'm like, dude, again, why not record it on both sides? You just flip it over, hit play, and then it runs through. I mean, come on. That's simple cassette etiquette. So Max, at this point, she screams for Lucas. Screams like, Lucas, Lucas. But he doesn't hear her. However, Henry does. And he's right there. But he's no longer Vecna. No, now he looks like Henry the Orderly, the one we knew who had the massacre at the Rainbow Room. Now remember, Max is brought back to that Rainbow Room. Now we're seeing that version of Henry. I don't know if there's a connection there, but it just seems like there's a reason or a moment, and maybe because that's Henry Vecna's last moment of like his normal earthly life, that's why that's like an imprinted memory. I don't know, because maybe that's Henry's last memory, because then it becomes Vecna. No, because then she did see Vecna's memories of the night that Max died. So that doesn't quite hold up. I love thinking about this stuff. So Max runs. She runs and runs and runs. And like in classic horror movie fashion, Henry just walks. I mean, he's briskly walking, but he's walking after her. And you see one of his hands turns into that giant Vecna claw. But Max made it to those caves, the same caves that she brought Holly to, that the map was drawn out, those big rocks. She runs in there. Henry walks right up against the cave, and then he just stops.
There's something about this cave. This memory. He won't come in. And here, I'm safe. So I turned it into my sanctuary. My home. I took door 2. Shitty door 2.
Accept your fate?
That was until you showed up. And now door 3 is back.
Escape.
I have a plan. A plan to get us out of here. And it's gonna take time. More time than we have now. Henry will return to his house soon. And when he does, he cannot know that you're gone.
You want me to go back there? Back to him? Back to Henry? No,
I know. It's scary. But if you want to get out of here, if you want to escape Camazotz, this is the only way. It's the only way.
Tell me what I need to do.
Okay, so there's a few things there. Let's unpack what we just heard. So there's something in that cave, some sort of memory that he's terrified to revisit. He will not go in there. I wonder if it has anything to do with like Boy Scouts. Like, why would he be in there? Why would he be in this cave? Is this cave a real place? Because it's not in Hawkins, right? There's nothing like that would be in Hawkins, Indiana. So why is he there? Do we find out there's something in Nevada, something else in Nevada? I don't know. This is all very interesting. Like, I never really thought this through. Is the cave like an actual memory, or is it just a representation of a memory? I'm not sure. But Max knows that she's safe in there. So she just hangs out there. And that's when she says, she pretty much accepted her fate and she was just going to stay there until Holly showed up. And now she's ready to escape again. And she has a plan. She has an idea, but it's going to take some time. And that means she actually has to send Holly back to Henry, who she's like, what? I can't go back there. So now Holly is going to have to go back to the house. And with the truth of Henry, which I believe she believes in Max now, with that being the case, she has to somehow pretend that she trusts Henry when we're inside Henry's mind. So she's going to, how is she going to pull that off? I guess once you're in the mind, can he read your mind inside the mind and tell that you're not telling the truth? I don't know exactly. And also, well, here's the thing. I think when she goes back to the house, it's going to be filled with a bunch of other kids. Now, who is going to, now, this is interesting because all these kids, will they remember? That's the thing. Holly was frightened. She got taken, but when she was there, it was like, hey, I'm with Mr. What's-It again. Like, she almost forgot that she was abducted. So will the other kids forget it? Will they forget enough to think that Mr. What's-It's on their side? That's okay. Now I'm like thinking this through as we go. They all think Mr. What's-It is still on their side because they all said, hey, we're with Mr. What's-It. We're going to help you out. So these kids are all going to be there thinking it's great, except for one kid who knows the truth, Derek. And now Holly and Derek are going to have to work together to help Holly help Max. That's my prediction. That seems to make sense. And I am excited to see it. I'm excited to see Holly and delightful Derek become friends and become partners and like really help save the day. And oh my God, Christmas can't get here fast enough. I mean, yeah, there's the family and the Santa Claus and the gifts and the food. But come on, we all just want to get to 8:00, right? Oh my goodness, we're so close. We're so close, but we're not done yet. So let's keep going. I also want to mention right there at the end, I love that that Holly just kind of like went from scared to tell me what I need to do. And I feel at that moment, Holly became Holly the heroic. Like that persona took over and she's in and she's going to do whatever it takes to help Max. So we head back under the tunnels of Hawkins. They're heading to the barracks. Will and Robin, they're walking together and they share a nice moment. Robin tells him about this huge crush he had on Tammy Thompson. So now in this episode, we've had a Hagen, which is my dog, and we have a Tammy, which is my wife, and we have a Mike, which is my name. So, I mean, my family's really getting represented here. I love it. So she talks about how she had this huge crush on Tammy Thompson, a crush that wasn't reciprocated, and it totally affected her. Her grades plummeted. She got grounded. She just kind of fell in a rut. And then one day she came across these old home movies. They're like old memories, home movies of her as a kid. This little kid she could hardly recognize. So carefree, so fearless, a kid who loved every part of herself. And that's when she realized it was never about tone deaf Tammy. It was always about her. Like she was looking for answers in somebody else, but she had all the answers. Hear that Boston accent come through? Answers. All she had to do was stop being so goddamn scared of who she really was. Once she did that, she was free and like she could fly and finally be Rockin' Robin. Will's like, Rockin' Robin. She's like, that's right, Rockin' Robin. And it is a really great acting moment of Maya Hawke, like the emotions that she's saying. And I'm thinking now, I'm not sure if I'm right about this, but I'm wondering, like, if we're seeing her trying to tell Will, like, look, I see the way you react to Mike. I was there. I was just like that with Tammy. But Mike and Tammy, it's so weird hearing these names being bandied about. But those feelings may not be, the same on the other side. You have to remember, it's not about, for me, Tammy, for you, Mike, it's not about, like, again, I feel like I'm talking about us because it is about us. For us, the feelings are, reciprocated. But for Mike or for Will and for whoever, whether it's Mike or anyone else, it's not about that. It's about you coming to terms and accepting yourself because you are the one that has all the answers. And it's at that moment that Lucas kind of like butts in. He's like, hey guys, I hope you're having a fine time. Like, come on, let's go. I'm taking your time. They laugh a little bit. And then Lucas, of course, totally like, I don't want to say ruins it, but you have this wonderful, sweet moment. And then Lucas turns around and like after he butts in and ruins it, he totally redeems himself by giving a classic immature dick jokes that they've arrived at their location. They've arrived to the dick. Back in the Upside Down, back at that, military lab base, whatever you want to call it, that soldier jerk shows up outside and he's yelling for them to let him in, and take me to Dr. K. Inside the lab, we see this nerdy looking scientist who's working on something, he's looking at something when his pen holder somehow, suddenly, mysteriously just slides off his desk. He goes to pick it up, but when he does, there's someone behind him with a giant gun. It's Hop and 11. They take the guy's keys, but the door doesn't open. He says, I don't have clearance. He's like, does Dr. K? He's like, I don't know. Even the way he said it, I feel like he was like covering for her, but he probably knows that, Dr. K has clearance. If anyone has clearance, it's got to be her. So they knock him out and they plan to open the door the old fashioned way. Superpowers. But before 11 gets very far, the power kicks off and the hedgehog kicks on. Oh, it's that stupid jerk-faced guy. He alerted them that he alerted them that they found out where the base was, so they're probably there. So it makes sense to turn on this hedgehog because it doesn't affect anyone else, just 11. She crumbles in pain as we then see G.I. Jerkoff and Dr. K make their way towards them. They now know that they are there, and they got their guns drawn, and they're headed their way. So we go back to the Max Z, back to the barracks, and the underground team, they've cracked through the tunnel. So they've kind of made it through the ceiling of the tunnel, and there seems to be a space between the tunnel and the ground of the underneath the barracks, because you realize these things aren't permanent structures. They were built on whatever grounds were right there in the square of Hawkins. So they punch through, but Mike hits some pipes a little bit too hard. There's some clanging, but they've seemed to averted disaster for now. Now, the same girl who laughed off Derek's warning noticed some weird banging when she was at the sink. Like, she heard the banging and some water kind of shook a little bit, but it seems like she didn't think much of it because she went back into the main common area where when she walks away, we see Derek kind of basically conducting a meditation session with these other kids. He's telling them, breathe and picture themselves on a beach. And the teacher looks at him like, huh? And she says, oh, it's called visualization. My mom does it when she's out of Valium. He's okay. Like, she gives the thumbs up. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. Derek's just like, everything Derek does now is becoming just gold. Gold, Derek, gold. So the teacher seems okay with this whole, meditation circle. And she walks away. And at this point, Derek's G.I. Joe lunchbox starts beeping. And there's a red light that we can see through the hole. So we knew the walkie-talkie was in the lunchbox. Thankfully, nobody bothered to look. But they've also figured out a way for them to communicate with him without opening the lunchbox. I feel like this was Mike as well. Poked a hole through so that the red light would shine through brilliantly, and it's a beep. Like there's a beep signal, and when that happens, Derek, as sweet as he is, he signals the first kid to go by smacking him on the head with a yardstick, right? That's what it looked like. And I think it's actually Debbie who goes in first. So she goes into the bathroom and goes to the out of order stall, and there's nothing there at first. Next thing you know, the floor cracks open and Lucas sticks his head through.
Howdy.
So more beeps and more kids getting sent through. Derek sends the next kid through as Debbie goes down a ladder into the tunnel. She asks Robin, "Oh, do you work for Mr. What's-It?" And Robin's like, "Oh yeah, I'm one of his elves, one of his magic elves." A couple other kids come down, and one kid grabs on to a pipe and he kind of twists it a little bit. And I don't think that helped, because I think those are the same pipes that Mike or somebody hit when they were punching through the ground. And a little bit of water drops on Mike, so he goes up and he looks through the hole, and he sees a few of the spots are leaking. They're sprouting out a little bit of water, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And I'm like, "Oh shit," because yeah, that's not good. Back in that damn upside down base, Kay and crew make their way through the lab with their guns drawn. And Dr. K goes into one room alone, and that's where she finds 11 there.
11. I have been looking for you for a very long time. My name is
Dr. K. I know who you are. Know who you've taken. And I also know that you and your men are going to die.
Oh, I love that, because she says it so matter-of-factly, and Kay just looks at her like, oh. And I don't know if Kay's wondering if she means I'm going to kill you, or if, she means you're playing with something you don't understand. and it's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. Because at this point, 11 thinks she knows who they've taken. She thinks she knows who's in there. She thinks it's Henry. And while the two of them are in that room, we see Akers. I can't believe I wrote down his name. I guess he has a name. I've called him Jerk, G.I. Jerkface, G.I. Jerk Off. A little more crass, but I think also fits him well. So he and a couple other men, they think they've cornered Hopper in a closet. So instead of getting him out and questioning him or just like apprehending him, they just start shooting like idiots. And they killed the scientist that Hopper knocked out. I feel like Hopper put the guy in there to keep him quiet. It will keep him out of harm's way. And he'll wake up and he'll be fine. But for right now, we'll just put him in there. Bang, 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 bang. Oops, now he's dead. At that point, Hopper opens fire on them and takes most of them out, except, of course, not Akers. That leads to Hopper and Akers getting into this big fight. Hopper actually throws acid into this douchebag's face, and I loved it. He's like, my beautiful face. It knocks him. Then he knocks the guy out. But remember, he isn't dead. At least we don't see him die. He might be like Two-Face now. But before Hopper can do anything else, he is grabbed by that squid-looking monster, that thing that we saw earlier in the room that was slapping up against the glass. That's the room they ended up going to in their fight. And it lifts Hopper up off his feet and is strangling him. And I guess because the hedgehog is going off, Kay feels completely fine leaving 11, and she walks right in to stand before Hopper, who's like hanging there struggling. She just walks in, pops in to say hi.
It's best not to struggle. The greater the perceived threat, the more aggressive its response.
Is she talking about that squid monster, or is she talking about the man that monster is holding? Think about it. The greater the perceived threat, the more aggressive its response. That's Jim Hopper right there. If you're going to threaten his daughter, he is going to do whatever it takes. But right now, things aren't looking so great as he's hanging there, and Kay is just kind of watching, not helping, not like shooting him or killing him, just letting him hang there, letting him struggle, probably letting him suffocate to death. That's at least her plan, it seems like. So we head back to the underground tunnel, and Robin is hurrying those first two kids away. And Debbie's like, is there a problem? It's like, no. Everything's going perfectly according to plan, which leads to a perfect jump cut. Everything's going perfectly according to plan. And boom, we jump to Mike and Will desperately trying to stop the worst leaking pipe that it's just gushing, and they're holding on. They're trying to wrap things around it. They're going like completely bananas. And then another kid comes through, and they're like, Mr. What's It? And they nod. They direct the kid to go down the ladder. Then another kid sticks his head in, and he becomes a future meme, but I don't think he even knew it yet, because when that kid went into the bathroom door, he slipped on some water. Derek noticed, but so did that same damn girl. Who can't help but goes, that same girl who saw the sink, that same girl who laughed at Derek, she can't help but go see what's up. And when she goes in and Mike says, Mr. What's It? She looks like, huh? And then she looks at that kid who went through, and he just has this his eyes bug out. He goes right down the hole. It reminded me of like an old cartoon. It was hilarious, but she's like, boom, immediately runs and yells for the officers. Officers. And it's like, ladies and gentlemen, not all quote-unquote Karens are grown women, and not all quote-unquote Karens are as awesome as Karen Wheeler. In fact, I kind of hate the term, because then like anyone who's listening to my voice right now, who your name is Karen, I feel like that's unfair. So I feel bad even saying it. But to me, what is the stereotypical use of that word? It seems like this young lady is kind of becoming, it looks like she would fit that perfectly. Like she's the same kid, I think, who would say to her teacher, excuse me, you forgot to assign us homework, Mr. Teacher. So this kid runs and says, officer needs to, and when that happens, like Joyce starts desperately just beeping the walkie over and over, and Derek snaps into action like there's no like trying to be a secret about it anymore. Derek is just like, let's go.
Ashley Clyde is a snitch!
Not since Steve the Hare Harrington has a character gone from unlikable to lovable as quickly as Derek Turnbow. Derek did it in just a few episodes, and he's right. Ashley Klein is a snitch. She told the officers. The officers are now trying to push into the bathroom. You got the few kids that they did get through going down the ladder. At the same time, Derek's now helping Mike and Will hold the bathroom door for as long as they can to try to get all these kids out. But it can only hold for so long. But they're holding, they're trying, they're doing their best. Back at the Upside Down lab, Hopper is still being strangled by that, I keep calling it a squid monster. I don't know what else to call it. And Kay is just casually, in there, just standing in the room, facing him, saying, "You're the reason, huh? You're the reason she's been so hard to track. The thorn in my side. And after all that effort to hide her, you bring her here, of all places? Like, why? Why risk that? Why would you do that? What do you know that I don't?" And I do like that, because she's not thinking they're idiots. She's thinking, oh, there's a reason. And what is that? Now the monster is still squeezing on Hopper, and he's like still struggling. And I like the K kind of, it's actually the villain making the villain mistake of explaining how to save the day, but just not doing it. It's like, oh, it's actually holding back. That heat you feel, it weakens it. So she turns up the heat and it lessens its squeeze. But in the cold, she says it thrives. She turns down the heat and, ooh, ouchie, ouchie, the thing squeezes again. It's like, oh my God. She says, I can stop it, but you're going to have to start talking. So 11, back in the office, we see 11 struggling to get to her feet. But before she looks like she's about to leave the room. She's going to try to get out of the room, and she grabs a pair of scissors. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope these are stabbing scissors. So Kay turns the heat back up so that Hopper is able to breathe. He's able to speak, and he's able to tell her to go to hell, which is just classic Hopper. So, of course, she turns the heat back down, so the thing is really squeezing him again. And she looks over and she sees 11 hobbling towards her. And 11 does try to put her hand out to try to use her powers, but nothing happens. And Kay's like, oh, I'm sorry, in your current state, I'm afraid that won't work. She gets a little cocky, I feel like. And she goes right up to 11. Not the sharpest, are we? But you know what is the sharpest? 11 stabbing scissors. She takes the scissors and bam, stabs her right in Kay, right under her arm. But even with the stabbing, Kay, she's in pain, but she's still stronger than 11 is currently. So she shoves 11 to the ground. But while that happened, that gave Hopper enough time to swing his feet and turn up the heat. The beast let him go, and he bum rushes Kay. Before she has a chance, she's about to shoot him. He, instead of ducking, he charges at her. The gun misses her. He overpowers her, takes the gun. She's defeated, but you can still see she still has a little bit of confidence in her. She's like, you're too late. The cavalry's on its way. Sorry. I don't think they realize what they're trying to do, because Hopper's like, oh, that's all right. I'll be quick. But then you realize when he says that, you realize what he's thinking, because we know at this point what he's thinking, because we've seen it already. But the first time around, we don't realize what he means when he says, I'll be quick. But right now we're like, oh my goodness, he thinks he will be quick. Ooh, I don't like that at all. Then he takes her and he knocks her ass out with his bludgeoning gun. So we cut back to outside the radio station, outside the tunnel entrance, where Murray is anxiously waiting. Suddenly there's a knock. He opens up the door there, and it's only Robin and a couple of kids. Back in the barracks, they're still trying to get the last couple of kids down the ladder. One girl is hesitant, but Joyce scares her. She's like, get down here now. She yells at her. And at this point, Mike, Will, and Delightful Derek can no longer hold the door. The soldiers get through, and they stop Joyce from going anywhere. back with Hopper and 11, now that Kay is out and Acre's out and it seems like the other guys are all dead, it's just the two of them. And Hopper, he starts shooting through a window and throws a chair through it because he needs 11 to get out. He lifts her up. He says, I got to get you out of here. He has to get her away from the hedgehog, from the kryptonite. And she's like, we can't leave. We came for Henry. He's like, listen, you take this compass. You follow it northeast to the graveyard. You're going to find Nancy and the others there. Except, are they? Are we sure about that? Because last I saw, Nancy and the others are going, they're going to start looking for that circle. Or actually, no, they're going to go to the lab. So I don't think, if they get out of here, you feel like that's the next place Hopper and 11 are going to go to. At least that was the plan before, of course, we got the big reveal of what's happening at the lab. So I'm not sure if they're going to be heading to the cemetery. And if they do, they're not going to find our friends there. They're just not. But while that's happening, like 11's like, no, you can't. She doesn't want to leave. And she notices like the little rip in Hopper's coat. Again, that rip happened because of that friggin' guy. When the fight, he sliced it with the knife. So if there wasn't for the knife, she might not have noticed there was some sort of wiring sticking through. So she unzips his coat. He's like, whoa, hey, what's going on?
Hey.
What is that?
It's just a failsafe, okay? It's a failsafe. If anything happens, I gotta make sure that he goes down with me.
No.
It's the only way. It's the only one. I'm not gonna risk losing you. I will not risk it.
Hopper, no.
I want you to know something. From here on out, I want you to know how proud I am of you. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of what you've overcome. I'm proud of who you are.
No. Hopper.
I love you, Jane.
Hopper.
Oh, it gets me every time when I watched it the first time, when I rewatched it to take notes, when I rewatched it to get the sound clip, and now that I'm listening to it now, the fourth time I've heard when he calls her Jane, it kills me every single time. I love you, Jane. I'm getting like chills just thinking about it, even for the fifth time. So he's strapped up completely with dynamite. She's like, no, and I think she's almost thinking that he's saying it's a failsafe, but I mean, how else would he take out Vecna if that's who is really behind there? And he's resound to do this, it feels like. And the I love you, Jane, and it's getting me now. Just saying it. I can't even say that. He's like, I'm so proud of who you are. I'm so proud of what you've overcome. I love you, Jane. And if you hear the emotion in my voice, it's very real. That was awesome. And I love that. And it just gets me every single time. So as he goes through the door, like 11 tries to, they took Kay's key card, which obviously works. He gets through the first door, and as it closes, like 11 almost throws herself out. She's like, Hopper, no. And he, at this point, I'm like, he's fully intending to do this because he has his hand on the trigger as he makes his way in. He's telling 11 to get out. Now, I don't think 11 leaves. In fact, 11 doesn't leave, and he doesn't say, hey, you're still here. Later, we'll get there. But he has the hand on the trigger ready to go, but it's like he almost can't do it. He just like doubles over. He's thinking about so much loss, about the loss of his daughter, Sarah. And it's like, I think he's thinking, I cannot lose another daughter. I will not lose another daughter. And then he straightens himself up and he uses Kay's key card again, and he enters the interior door, and it just goes to black. Like, we don't see it, but we're thinking, oh my God, is the next thing we're going to see an explosion? Is this it? Remember, we're at the last parts of this story. All bets are off. This could be the moment. But when you really think about it, why would it be Vecna? We're at the end of episode, 4. Yes, there could be death, but there wouldn't be the ending of the main villain, the big monster. We didn't even see him. We haven't really even seen him yet. except in the trailer, or except the old version of him back in 1983, 83, I think so. You know what I'm talking about? Back when Will was first taken, but we haven't seen him, currently since the whole mishap, the whole little adventure he had with Max and with 11. So there's really, as dramatic as it is and as awesome as it is and how tense it is, because again, there could be something else in there for him to blow up, or we don't know. In reality, when you look at it, hindsight, you're thinking, well, it can't be Henry, and there's no way he's going to blow himself up. But if it was, then you're like, well, then what the hell comes next after that? But it definitely it hits you right in the heart every single time. And I just get a little chill, and I get this little tingle in your eyes. I don't know. It's like this water in your eyes. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's something called emotion. And yeah, I'm feeling it. Hopper's making me feeling it. And again, I Love You, Jane, gets me every single time. We go back outside the radio station, and Robin and Murray, they got the kids that they did rescue or kidnap, depending on what side you're on. They get these kids into Murray's truck. He's like, are we all comfy? They're like, not really. Murray's like, oh, it's funny because the kids are like, they're being truthful, but beggars can't be choosers. So while he's doing that, Erica calls from the bell tower, the clock tower, whatever you want to call it, the tower that no one ever notices, thank God. And she's like, uh-oh, we have a problem. Well, she calls to Robin and to Lucas. Lucas is hustling through the tunnels with a couple more kids that they did get away, but Erica notifies them that there is a bit of a problem because she can see that Joyce, Mike, Will, Derek, and a couple other kids are being escorted through the Max Z grounds by soldiers. So the soldiers got them. They're bringing him through the grounds, and Sullivan's there, and he stops them to ask what the hell's going on. And one of the privates says, we've got 5 kids missing. They're like, what? You've lost 5 kids? How is that possible? It's like this woman. And I love Joyce's like, Joyce Byers. She lets herself know who she is right away. She lets them know. It's like she broke into the barracks, and she's been helping them escape through some kind of tunnel. And I love that Sullivan's like, what? Like, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Because think about this. You've got an army here of professional soldiers, and this soldier, this private, is telling them this woman, she is a mother of 2. She broke into the barracks and is helping these children escape through a tunnel. We all know what's happening. We all know the reality of the group and the stuff they're capable of. But if you're Sullivan and you just hear this, I would also be like, wait, say that again?
Listen, these kids, they are not safe, okay? They are in danger.
And why exactly do you think they're here, ma'am? They're under our protection.
If I may interject, officer, I've seen what's coming. And no disrespect meant, but you and your men can't protect shit!
Are you okay? Baby, are you okay?
They're here.
They're here. So first, everyone's arguing, and I love that, again, Derek with another line, he says that whole thing of you can't protect shit. And one of the guys slaps him on the back of the head and he said, is that what the military does? Hits kids? I thought that was hilarious. So everyone's arguing. And at this point, Will grabs the back of his neck. He's got the goosebumps. He knows he's like tapping into the hive mind. He senses it. He senses what's happening and he falls on his hands and knees. And now we can see through the demo vision that they're getting closer. And just like Carol Ann warned everyone in Poltergeist, now Will the Wise is letting them know that they're here. But isn't that what Dr. K wanted? Isn't that why he had all these kids there? So that you could bring the monsters to them? So they should be happy. Hey guys, it's happening. We're about to beat the monsters. Oh wait, They think that 11's the evil one, and that's who they think they're trying to attract. Oh, they're attracting someone, but I'm not sure they realize who they're actually bringing to them. Suddenly, the lights start going bonkers everywhere. It's like, like they're going in the streets, in the barracks, and the military, like they're all kind of panicking. They're getting ready. They're getting their guns drawn, and they start hearing banging on the metal plates. Remember, they covered up these fissures, these ground gates, whatever you want to call them, the cracks in the earth. They just covered them up with metal. It's kind of like how a dentist will cover up your cavity with a filling. These are just fillings of the Upside Down, and like loud banging. And this is when I think it really starts to set into Derek.
Take the nearest threat. Engage on sight.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die.
I mean, yes, that's a very real and very frightened response, but it's also very funny. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. So Mike gets the kids behind him. I love that he's like, whoa, Demogorgons. I love that Mike's first thought is to protect the kids. So he has the kids behind him. Joyce is guarding Will, and then boom, all hell breaks loose. A Demogorgon comes through a gate. Shots are fired. Another Demogorgon comes through. In the barracks, the kids are freaking out. The teachers are saying, because they hear gunshots, they have no idea what's going on. Get under the bed. Get under the bed. The Demogorgons are going crazy, killing anything they can. Soldiers are shooting with reckless abandon. I mean, it is madness. Outside WSQK, a gate opens up under the radio tower, and more gates are opening up near Robin and Murray. It's like gates are opening up wherever they need to be to get to the kids, right? That's what seems to be happening. They're like, we gotta go. They jump in the truck, they get the hell out of there. Like I said, they want them kids, because 2 more gates open up in the tunnels to stop Lucas and the kids he's trying to protect. Robin and Murray take off in the truck as 3 Demogorgons now emerge from the openings, and they chase after them. At the Max Z, the military, they don't stand a chance. I mean, the shots don't seem to be doing anything, and I think this is when we get like, there's a oneer, they call it, where there's a cool behind the scenes thing they did where it's not exactly all done in one shot, but it's a series of long takes that are stitched together to make it look like it's one long shot. I think Will actually said that they make it look like a big long oneer, quote unquote. And what it is you just kind of follow along with one camera, and it gives that feeling of like realism and danger, almost like a documentary style thing, because you're behind the one camera. It's like, this is your eyesight, almost like virtual reality. Like, this is what you're seeing here. And during this, like all this anarchy, Mike is a goddamn boss. Okay. It seems like the Wheelers really do kind of take the ball and run with it. Like they seem to be born leaders. He keeps the kids as cool and calm as possible. He's like, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to get you out of here. He gets Will and Joyce, and he tries to lead them all out of there. And of course, the kids are freaking out. Everyone is dying around them, but he gets them out of harm's way for a moment, only to want to put them back into harm's way, because across the street on the other side of the center of town, they need to get to that Radio Shack. This is like me in the 90s. I got to go to Radio Shack. I got to pick something up. They need to get there because that's where there's a tunnel entrance in there. So they can't get back to the barracks, to the one they made. They need to get to the Radio Shack, and they need to get there and get these kids out of there and get them to safety. So, easy peasy, right? Mike yells at them to go, go, go. You just 3 simple rules. Don't get shot, don't get run over, and don't get mauled by a monster. And they almost make it too. But then 2 Demogorgons surround them. And remember, these monsters, they don't want to kill these kids. They want to take them. And they inch closer and closer. And then boom, out of nowhere, a friggin' flamethrower. Remember early on in I believe the first episode, one of the soldiers used the flamethrower to burn through the veil of that gate, that the one where Hopper used to get to the Upside Down. And now he's using it to burn through a Demogorgon. But as it screams in pain and falls over, remember, hive mind. Will collapses in pain too. He's screaming. The other Demogorgons scream too. They all fall over. The ones chasing Lucas falls over. The ones chasing Robin and Murray fall over. Like the hive mind is collectively all in terrible pain. Unfortunately, that also includes Will. We go back to the Upside Down, back to the lab that Hopper and 11 are at. And that squid monster, that thing is also in tremendous pain because it's part of the hive mind. 11 just sits there and watches it. She didn't leave. Hopper told her to leave, and she did not leave him. She did not abandon him. And then suddenly, the kryptonite, it just shuts off. The hedgehog shuts off, and 11 is like, oh, it's almost like she can breathe out. Oh, like she's freed from the pain, and she lays there exhausted on the ground. And then she hears someone approaching, and the door opens, and it's Hopper. He didn't blow himself up. He didn't say a thing. He just looks at her, stands back so that 11 can come in and see what he found. She was expecting to see Henry, to see Vecna. I think Hopper was expecting to see the same thing. But at the Max Z, Mike notices someone coming from behind that veil, that very same gate that the burners used their flamethrowers on. We see a silhouette. Who is coming? Who is behind that veil? If it's who we think it is, then what is 11 going to find? In what I can only describe as a mind-blowing reveal, not since Chapter 7 of Stranger Things 2 have we seen this face, this young woman, Callie, 8, sister. I was not expecting, in fact, I didn't recognize her at first because her hair's all cut off. But there she is, this young woman. The last time we saw her, remember, like she and 11 were going separate ways. I know she's been in some of the comics, but we have not seen her in Stranger Things. This has not been referenced. It has not been talked about. It's almost like they tried to forget about it. Like, because although a lot of people didn't love that episode, but it did add to the larger world and the larger mythology. And it turns out it was not all for naught, because there is an amazing payoff where right here, right now, she is being held captive and somehow being used to generate this whole hedgehog system, this whole kryptonite. It seems like she somehow is able to do this. I'm not sure exactly, because remember, her powers are like to create illusions, but somehow they figured out a way to use her to create this sound to incapacitate 11. I'm not exactly sure, but it's an incredible reveal, and that's it. That's all we get from them. So we haven't seen our trackers since they decided that, they were going to go to the lab. And right now, the Hawkins lab, and right now we're leaving Hopper and 11 and Callie. We're leaving them with the big reveal as we head back over to the Max Z for the big grand finale. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. You know him. You hate him. You last saw him when Nancy, Steve, and Robin were burning and shooting the shit out of him. But he's back, and he's grosser than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the one and only Henry. The one and only one. It's Vecna. I apologize. I couldn't resist when I was writing out Vecna coming back. This is really it. This is his big moment. It just felt like I was announcing somebody coming on the Tonight Show, so I had to go back and get that classic Tonight Show music. Johnny Carson was the host of the Tonight Show when this was going on back in 1987. Okay, enough of the nonsense, enough of the silliness. Let's get down to some serious craziness, because the gate the veil, whatever you want to call it, it tears open. And you have to remember, Will, Mike, and Joyce, I don't think any of them have ever seen Vecna before. Like, really, as far as actually seeing him, there's Max, and then there's Robin and Steve and Nancy. That's kind of it. And Max only sees him in the visions, but she's definitely seen him. Maybe like Will has interacted with him, or at least Vecna has interacted with Will, but Will was asleep all this time. So I'm not sure any of them have ever actually laid eyes on him. And now they're seeing this guy, like they're seeing this monster. I'm believing they're seeing him pretty much for the first time. And I'm pretty sure, like, Mike looks freaked the F out. I'm pretty sure they're not like, oh, now who's this guy? I'm pretty sure they're looking and going, oh, that's him. That's Henry. That's Vecna. And he looks pissed. Like, he looks different too. Like, he looks more tree-like, or like he's rebuilding. Not as much. It's like drier almost like he's trying, because remember, he's been burned out. Maybe he's trying to rebuild his existence, and it's taking time. He's probably been away stewing, trying to reform and rebuild. And I bet we're going to get some sort of backstory telling us what happened to him from the moment of, being burnt outside the Creel house in the Upside Down to showing up and coming out for his big coming out party at the Mac Z. I wonder if we're going to get something that fills in the gap there. So Vecna comes through the gate and he just kind of saunters down, and it, like, all the carnage of the Demogorgons, it's over, because with the flamethrower and the hive mind, they all collapse to the ground. Now Vecna comes out and it's eerily quiet, and then the silence is broken because Sullivan and his men do what they think they do best. They shoot at something, and the bullets just bounce off him. And unlike the Demogorgons, he can kill you with just a hand gesture. And he's like flicking this guy's here, flicking these guys there, throwing guys off of like the high barracks, off of like these big stanchions. I can't think of the right word, but he's flinging guys off over the gate, like on the library. People are falling off that. And then he can also shoot out his arm like Mr. Fantastic. Boom, stab a guy that way. The flamethrower tries to shoot him. Yeah, that backfires. It literally backfires, because Vecna's like, I shoot the flames at you. He kills a bunch of those guys. And at that moment, like, it's a big explosion. Mike gets knocked out. I think the kids get knocked out. Soldiers are getting killed left and right. He makes a guy that has a grenade. He makes the grenade go off. Sullivan is badly burned. But again, I don't think he's dead, but I'm wondering if he's thinking at this point, oh no, 11 wasn't the villain after all. And guess what, buddy? That's what you get for not helping, for not being on their team. If you work together instead of against our stranger friends, maybe you wouldn't be in this predicament. So Vecna then just kind of stands there and he raises his arms. This is like craziness. He just raises his arms up. And the Demogorgons all rise and they all stand up, and they're feeling much better. In fact, on the road, they start chasing Murray and Robin down again. They're stabbing through, they're actually getting to the truck. They're stabbing into the roof. The kids are freaking out. Murray's like, he's going to try to shake them off. He's driving like crazy, but the truck flips over onto its side. In the tunnels, the Demogorgons again chase down Lucas and the kids. And you can see Lucas is like, get behind me. He stands there. He tries to protect them. In the Max Z, remember our friend Ramirez? Well, these are his final moments, because he's crawling away, and Vecna just goes, sticks his tree hand, or whatever you want to call it, his giant gross hand right through Ramirez's head. He probably died quickly, and as I wrote down here, he was probably the most likable of all these jerks, but he dies in, I remember the Duffers said, like, we don't have as many deaths, but, well, I mean, I don't know, a lot of people died in this moment. He says, we do have the most gruesome death, and I think That's what we saw right there with Ramirez being, his whole head being kind of stabbed upon. It's like everyone is down now, and Vecna just stands there admiring his work. But then he flips over a Jeep. Not everyone's down because Joyce is still up. She's standing over her son, protecting him because she's a mother, a brave, heroic mother who gets up and yells, "Stay away from him." Now, he could have killed her. He could have. He flicks her away and she's out of the way. She goes flying. She's definitely knocked out. But like, maybe he's thinking, if I kill Will's mother, I will never get him to work with me. Like I can't use it against him. Like if I say I'm going to kill her, maybe he'll work for me. I can kind of use that to manipulate him. But without her, if she's out of the picture, I lose that option of how I can manipulate this young man to work with me or work for me or do my bidding. So Will's still kind of out of it as Vecna then uses his powers to have Will like stand upright, floating. Like you could see he's like struggling, and he pulls him right over. He's floating there right in front of Vecna. Like he looks like he's a foot off the ground so they can be eye to eye. And Will just looks uncomfortable. He looks like he's in pain, and he looks like he is frightened.
Can you see them, William? Can you see the children? Do you know why? Why I chose them to reshape the world.
While Vecna is saying this, we see the Demogorgons are getting to the children. They get to the children in the truck. They get to the children in the tunnels.
Because they are weak.
They get to the children at the Mac Z. They get them all.
Weak in body and mind.
Their plan has failed.
Easily broken. Easily reshaped. Controlled. The perfect vessels. And you, well, you were the first. And you broke so easily.
We see all the horrible things that Will had to go through with the Mind Flayer back in Stranger Things 2.
You showed me what was possible, what I could achieve. Some minds, it turns out, simply do not belong in this world.
We see Will at his worst, his lowest, when he tore down Castle Byers, when he broke down crying in the pizza van.
They belong in mine.
When he says that, they belong in mine, he points at his head. He wants to take all of them. He wants to take everything and put it into his head, his world, his universe. And with that, when he says that, he just leaves. He leaves Will there and he walks off. He doesn't take him. He doesn't kill him. He leaves him. And I have to wonder why. It has to be part of his plan. It has to be that he needs Will. He has something in store for him. He just has to. Will is just a broken young man at this point, and he's there ready for whenever Vecna needs him. At least, that's what Vecna thinks. He leaves them, and he heads back into the Upside Down, and when he leaves, the veil closes behind him. Will, at this point, falls down to his knees and snaps directly back into the Demogorgon vision. He sees the monsters now. He sees one approaching Robin outside the truck. He sees one approaching Lucas in the tunnel. And he sees one approaching Mike right there in the Mac Z. That one leaps up, jumps up at Mike, ready to attack, and Mike can't do anything or put his hands up in fear. But then Will looks up. And then he remembers what Robin told him.
I was looking for the answers in somebody else, but I had all the answers.
We then see memories. Memories told almost like home movies. Memories of Will. He's at school, sitting on a swing alone. Out of nowhere, a kid comes up and asks him,
"Do you want to be friends?"
And young Will nods yes.
I just needed to stop being so goddamn scared.
We see a young Mike and young Will playing Dungeons and Dragons together for the first time.
Scared of who I really was.
Young Will drawing a spaceship.
It's so good.
We see the young Byers brothers together, designing and building Castle Byers. We see young Will running around and playing dressed up as a wizard.
And once I did that, I was so free. It's like I could fly.
Wait, not a wizard. A sorcerer. We snap out of the memories, and Mike looks up. The Demogorgon that was about to kill him, is stuck in midair, frozen in space. And then we get the most epic shot of the entire season, one of the most epic shots and most epic moments in all of Stranger Things. I still get chills just talking about it. As the camera looks at the Demogorgon, it pans over, and we see Will. Will goddamn Byers. He is standing there with his arm outstretched. Mike looks like, what is going on? Joyce has this look of like bewildered amazement, and Will looks crazy. His eyes are completely white. He has almost this snarl on his face. Inside the tunnel, there's a Demogorgon about to attack Lucas. Will stretches out another hand and stops that monster, frozen. By the truck, the third Demogorgon is about to attack Robin. Will snaps back his head. Boom! He's now controlling all three Demogorgons at once. Suddenly, all three of them float into the air in front of Lucas, in front of Robin, in front of Mike. Will can see his friends through the Demovision. He knows he has to protect them. And with a flex of his arms, he utterly destroys all three monsters. He brings his arms in, and boom, their bones snap and crack, much like in the same way Vecna kills his victims. All three of them fall dead, and Will falls down to his knees. And I love the look on Mike's face. It almost like has a bit of a grin, like it's coming in. He's like, yes, like he can't believe what he just saw. And he's like, you could see it in his eyes, like pride, like he is the sorcerer. Joyce is like, what is going on there? Like, am I the mom of a superhero? And then Will unclenches his hands. He's breathing heavy, and he lifts his head. His eyes return to their normal state. Blood drips from his nose. He slowly wipes the blood away as we fade to black. End of part 1. Whew, that took a lot out of me. My goodness, what an exciting ending. What an incredible ending. What an epic ending. Will has powers. Will is a sorcerer. He had these powers in him always. He just needed to find them. I love that someone realized, I can't take credit for this, but when he watched, when we saw those movies, those home movies, those memories that look like home movies, those were, not all of them, but some of them were exactly the same memories, the same stories that Joyce and Jonathan and Mike told to Will when he was originally like possessed by the mind flayer, and they tried to connect to him and kind of, reach him. Joyce talked about the big box of crayons and this spaceship that he designed and drew on his own. Jonathan talked about building Castle Byers together. And Mike talked about that time where he went to kindergarten and he didn't know anybody, and he sat down next to on a swing next to him, and he asked, "Do you want to be friends?" And he's like, "You said yes. You said yes." And it was the best decision, like best thing that's ever happened to him, he said. It was those things that he held on to, those things that kind of made him realize who he is, what he has, and it allowed him to be able to do what he can do. He's tapped into the hive mind, which means now not only can he see where these creatures are, but he can now control them, he can manipulate them, he can kill them from a distance. He's not like, there was that one right there at the magazine, but there was also the one with Robin and Murray. Who knows how far away that was? There was the one in the tunnels with Lucas. That's, not that far, not that close either. They were running and running, trying to get away. So he now has this incredible power. And I just hope when we go into the next chapter, into the next part, that he figures out how to use it, how to harness it, how to keep using it. It's not like, I don't know where that came from. It's like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go kick some ass. Because they're going to need him. That entire plan of getting the kids away, that entire plan of keeping Derek away, it all failed. All of it. Vecna got all the kids that he needed, right? Does he have all 12 now? Every single one. We saw these kids getting dragged away in the magazine. We saw the kid with Lucas. He's like yelling as he's getting pulled away through the hole. We saw the kids in the truck getting taken away. Vecna now has them all, and he has Holly. Now, my assumption is Holly's going to go back home. And did I say this already? I think I mentioned this. I've been recording this all day. This is why the show is out late tonight. Usually they come out on Monday mornings. It's out late tonight on a Monday night. But I feel like Holly's going to go back to the Creel house and all the kids are going to be there. And I said this, yes, her and Derek are going to work together. But where else is everybody else? So we have Jonathan, Dustin, Nancy, and Steve. They're off looking for the Hawkins lab to see what the connection there. Why is that the center of this entire circular wall? We have Hopper and 11. Now they have Callie with them. So they were going to go look for the tracking crew, but how does that change now that they have Callie with them? And then we have Joyce, Mike, and Will right there in the center of town. Are the soldiers, are they going to help the soldiers? Are the soldiers now going to realize, oh God, you guys are on our side? I can't imagine that, but like all these soldiers dead, you feel like new soldiers are going to come in, right? You can't, well, you don't know, because we don't know how much time is going to pass. This could all happen in one night now. This could be the final night. These final 4 episodes could be one night. We don't know. So there might not be enough time for that to happen. It might now just be up to our heroes. And thank God it is up to them, because who else is going to save the day? So did I cover everyone? Because you have Lucas, Robin, they're part of the crew in the Max Z, so they're going to all come back together. Erica watched this whole thing from the tower. She must be like, it should come back with her on the walkie, and the first thing she says is, holy shit. Like, that would be very funny, and it would add some levity to a very intense, very dramatic moment. My goodness. This was... So, I watched this the second night. So this came out on the night before Thanksgiving. I watched this on Thanksgiving night, and I was on the phone. I was texting with my niece like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I don't think I finished till well after midnight. I had to keep going. And she's like, I'll be awake, don't worry. And we were just freaking out. And now we can't wait. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get her to come over Christmas to at least watch one of the next episodes. Oh, my goodness. I can't wait. Listen, I want to thank everyone who has been listening to the show for years. I want to thank everyone who's just joined the show this year for Stranger Things 5. I really, truly appreciate it. I will be back. So the next 3 episodes come on Christmas. So look for new Stranger Danger shortly after Christmas. I would love to get all 3 episodes up before New Year's. That would be ideal because I want to go in watching these, finishing these shows, not having any idea what happens in the finale. So that's the goal. And now I'm hopefully going to be able to achieve it. And it helps that I am on vacation. That really does help. Thank goodness for vacation. I know my wife wants to do a few things because she's on vacation too. So I have to be a good husband also. You guys understand, right? But fear not, because next to being a good husband and a good dog daddy, Stranger Danger, right there, right on the precipice. In fact, next week she'll probably be like, "You're doing it again?" I'm like, "I have to. The Stranger Friends demand it." So I will talk to you next week, my friends. But until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. You can follow the show on Blue Sky at strangerdangerpodcast.com. You can follow us on Fans Not Experts on YouTube, Fans Not Experts on Facebook. And of course, you can follow every other podcast I do at fansnotexperts.com. But if you just care about Stranger Danger, you can simply go to strangerdangerpodcast.com. Thank you to everyone who sent in comments. If I haven't read your comments yet, don't worry. I will get to them when we get to the next episodes. I am excited. We are all caught up. We are now days away from the new episodes coming. So for everyone who celebrates it, Merry Christmas. To everyone else, Happy Holidays. Happy Stranger Things 5. I will see you soon. But until next time, my friends, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time, kill Vecna on 3. Ready? Everybody. 1, 2, 3. Kill Vecna!
Fans Not Experts.